time for another Ask Me Anything video, and today we're talking about narcissists and their level of awareness. So if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, then you know there's a roller coaster situation going on there. Ups and downs. Sure, at the beginning, everything was amazing. You probably even thought this was your soulmate. And as time went on, you started to feel differently. Things changed. And that's because after the first few weeks or months or sometimes even years, especially in the case of a long distance relationship, the narcissist begins to devalue you. It's during the devalue phase that the narcissist begins to recognize that you are human and therefore flawed like everyone else. This causes them to begin to blame you for everything that happens wrong in your relationship or otherwise, and it also tends to lead them to begin to display their lack of empathy in very cruel and painful ways. And this, of course, leads us to the inevitable question, do they know what they're doing? Do narcissists realize they're hurting you? Do they know that their behavior is toxic? That's exactly what we're talking about today at queenbeing.com. So let's get started.
Closed captioning provided by Athena Moberg and CPTSDFoundation.org.
My name's Angie Atkinson, and on this channel I offer free daily video coaching to help you discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. I like to call it toxic relationship rehab. So if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button and let's get going. Today's question is, do narcissists know they say and do mean things to hurt you, or does their lack of empathy prevent them from seeing it? In other words, are they doing it on purpose? Do narcissists actually realize that they are saying things that hurt you? Do they know what they're doing? Bottom line, in many cases, I think they do know. But in some cases, I think they are almost on automatic pilot. And we're going to dig into this a little bit. Take a look. Narcissists by nature are self-protective people. They are always on the lookout for being disrespected or for someone who's trying to one-up them or take from them. This is because on some level, each narcissist is very insecure. This, of course, depends partially on the type of narcissist we're talking about. But in general, there's a spectrum, and that includes things like hypersensitivity, a marked lack of empathy, and because they tend to not notice when you feel bad because it doesn't bother them, they can, on some occasions, hurt you without realizing it. However, despite the fact that narcissists have such a low level of empathy, if any at all, their own feelings are easily hurt. They have the high sensitivity thing going on, and so any little thing you do could be seen as an attack by the narcissist. And sadly, this is also true if you have anything to focus on outside of them. They feel personally attacked by this. Because of their level of insecurity and lack of self-confidence, they really depend on you to validate them. And if you don't constantly validate them, well, they're just not getting what they want. So a lot of times they just look for that somewhere else, and that's exactly why a lot of narcissists will actually cheat on you. But back to the point, we know that narcissists are incredibly cruel at times. The things that they say make us doubt that they could ever have loved us. And this is partially because of the concept of object constancy.
I'm going to start out with a little story about a little boy named Ernest who happened to be the nephew of the famed psychiatrist Sigmund Freud. Freud reportedly played games with this child. He would hold a little teddy bear next to the baby's crib, and when the kid would look at it, Freud would drop it out of sight. Well, it was interesting to Freud because what would happen is when the teddy bear would be gone, the little kid had no interest, didn't even think about it again. It was like it never existed, like it wasn't there anymore. He would immediately lose interest. But when the bear was brought back into sight, well, the little kid was all excited and happy again. So Freud thought that was interesting. Well, over time, as he got a little bit older, Freud noticed that when the bear would be gone, the baby would look over the side of the crib to see if he could find the bear. Freud developed a theory that he called object constancy. It's a theory of cognitive development. It suggests that in some part of our early development, we as humans express the ability to understand that out of sight does not mean that it doesn't exist. At some point, we understand this, right? It's really actually a very important idea because it is one of the core elements of what an interpersonal relationship is really all about. So it's like this. If we can see it, if we can touch it, if we can taste it, if we can smell it, we know it's real. If we can't see it, touch it, taste it, or smell it, we don't know it's real, right? So in the case of objects, which in this case includes people, if we have a strong sense of constancy as an individual, we're going to feel the same way about that person whether they're there or they're not, whether they're happy with us or not. In healthy relationships, we continue to love someone even if we're angry with them. This is what's different with a narcissist. They don't have a very good sense of object constancy. As we all know, they consider us an object anyway, but even in this theory, people in general are considered objects. The fact of the matter is, it is normal to fight with your significant other or your mother or your brother or your father or your boss sometimes. Maybe not your boss. But as we all know, narcissists are shockingly mean to us when they argue with us. They treat us like we don't matter. They make us think, what in the hell is wrong with that person? It is because during a relationship, they don't maintain that sense of constancy. They cannot see you as someone they love when they're angry with you. Not at the same time. They can't be angry with you and love you at the same time. So perhaps because something traumatic happened early in their life, they never were able to develop object constancy. If you've ever had children or you know children, they go through a phase where they call separation anxiety. At some point, they recognize that mommy goes away and mommy comes back. But when mommy goes away, they just think mommy doesn't exist anymore. And that is very difficult for them. You understand? So someone who went through a traumatic event as a child may not have developed the ability to understand that mommy's always going to come back. And even though logically they know this now, they still struggle with the idea of having a permanent relationship with someone, a permanent feeling for someone.
So in a nutshell, object constancy is the ability to put a disappointment or a frustration with someone in the context of the entire relationship. As in, yeah, you hurt me, you disappointed me, but I don't hate you. You're still my love, my friend, whatever. So since narcissists don't have object constancy, narcissists don't have context. So what that means is that when the narcissist is screaming at you for whatever it is that they think you've done wrong, they don't recall those good times. They are totally focused on the single moment of being angry. And truly, during that moment, they actually hate you. So they often forget that you're a good person they love and care about. And because in that moment they hate you, also in that moment, they feel that you want to hurt them. And since you have hurt them, they feel the need to hurt you back. But here's the kicker. Contrary to what you might think, it's not really because the narcissist wants to hurt you in most cases, unless of course they're sadistic or they have traits closer to the psychopathic or sociopathic end of the scale. Most narcissists are intelligent enough to understand that they are hurting you at least after the fact, not always during the situation. Because when narcissists are focused on their own emotions, they are completely incapable of focusing on much else. They're hurting you because you're not giving them what they want in any given moment. Their abuse is a reaction to some slight or some perceived issue that they have with you, whether it's real or imagined. It's simply a sign from the narcissist that they want you to change something about yourself or something that you're doing in order to suit what they need and what they want. Of course, there are some narcissists who will do it just for fun, and those are the more malignant types, and also tend to be those higher on the cluster B spectrum. So bottom line, yeah, they know they're hurting you in many situations, but because of the lack of empathy and because they're so focused on their own emotions, they just don't care enough to show that to you.
Let's talk about a new research study that came out.
That kind of covers the more malignant narcissists we're talking about.
Well, this research study found that not only could narcissists, especially those who were especially low in empathy, not only could they be rude, but it explained why they were rude. The study was done at the University of Alabama by William Hart and some other colleagues, and it kind of took into account the dark triad qualities. Those who tested high on the dark triad scale, a lot of those people have traits that are kind of related to psychopathy. So those include lack of impulse control, inability to empathize with other people, erratic lifestyle, lack of remorse, and then of course Machiavellianism, which is of course the tendency to exploit other people, seek power, and basically do whatever they have to do to get what they want in the world, to get their way. So the combination of narcissism and all of these qualities, according to researchers, basically lead to what they call a relatively malignant approach to self-presentation. Regarding self-presentation tactics, the researchers identified 12 of them and put them on what they called a subscale, those that were assertive and those that were defensive. In the assertive bunch, we had ingratiation, which is where someone uses flattery or agreement in order to be liked. And then we had intimidation, which means provoking fear in other people in order to be more popular or gain influence. That's a lot of times like what a school bully will do, almost. But adults also use this tactic, as we all know too well. Supplication, where you look weak in order to let other people help you on purpose. So supplication, you might see that with the Damsel in Distress Act, or entitlement, where you take credit for things that really aren't yours, or where you assume that you get something that isn't really for you. Blasting, saying negative things about other people in order to feel and appear better by comparison. Or exemplification, which is trying to actually serve as a positive role model. Now in defensive, we had excuse making, obviously deny responsibility, or justification, which is denying your own negative behavior and making excuses for it, kind of fits with the last one. Then there's disclaimer, where you ahead of time lower your person's expectations of you and of the situation. Self-handicapping, which basically putting obstacles in the way of success so that you don't appear to fail even if you do. And then apology, which is in this case admitting guilt in order to convince other people that this isn't your normal behavior. I know a lot of these behaviors are going to make you think, oh my gosh, this is outrageous, especially when you think about behaviors like blasting behavior or the intimidation behavior, which is obviously bullying in both senses. And then knowing about and hearing about the defensive behaviors are kind of frustrating for most people because they think, I can't believe they've actually broken it down like that, right? Because you see it in your own life so much. Basically, I think the reason it's so frustrating is because it kind of shows you that people are actually thinking about how to make themselves appear better than they really are, or so that they don't appear at fault when they really are. It makes them feel better, and even if they admit that they're flawed, they are also sort of making an excuse for it inadvertently. And then when we're talking about the sincere apology one, that's a great thing, right? Except in this case, it's about trying to twist everything around so they don't seem at fault. So it's really more of a manipulation than a sincere apology. So the researchers gathered up these people, they had them complete this STPS, which is the measure of self-presentation tactics, as well as, of course, the Narcissistic Personality Inventory, or the NPI. The way that they did it allowed them to sort of figure out exactly how each person in the study kind of fell on the scale. So they were looking to find out how honestly the participants would report themselves as using these tactics, as well as how useful each tactic had been in their life, plus how bad or how guilty they would feel if they used those tactics. I thought that was interesting. Then they were able to look across both of those different tests and figure out how high they were on the narcissism scale, where they fell on the Machiavellianism scale, and where they fell in psychopathy scores. So basically what it came down to was that when we talk about the tactic usage, those with dark triad traits were also the ones who were more likely to use the intimidation factor, as well as being the least likely to use the apology attempt at manipulation. They didn't see any benefit in serving as a role model, and even if apologies were self-serving, they didn't see any value in offering up apologies. But those with high scores would recriminate themselves if it helped them to get what they wanted. And they said they would use self-handicapping, and they believed it was highly effective. Those who had the dark triad qualities were most likely to be malignant, were most likely to be unapologetic for their behavior. They would act as con artists, they would act as liars, and they didn't care if they would be found out because they believed they could make excuses and get out of the trouble without a problem. If someone is more malignant of a narcissist or a psychopath or a sociopath or any other cluster B personality disorder, they are also more likely to be directly rude and disrespectful.
All right, now this brings me to the question of the day. And the question of the day is, do you think that narcissists know what they're doing, or do you think that they're just kind of clueless and going on autopilot? Or do you think that it just kind of depends on how intelligent they are? Share your thoughts, share your ideas, share your experiences in the comment section below, and let's talk about it. If you want to learn more, make sure you take a look at the video I'm leaving for you right there, and it will give you so much more information about this. Before I go, I want to offer a quick shout out and a big thank you to all of my channel members, those people who support me through the YouTube membership program. You are awesome and amazing, and I'm so grateful for you. I'm going to show you their names right here. And I just want to say again a big thank you to each and every one of you. With your help, I'm able to continue to provide free daily video coaching, free resources at queenbeing.com, free videos like this one to help people get through the hard times, discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships, and to evolve to the next level of their life. Thank you so much. Sincerely, it means the world to me, and it is my mission in life. Thank you. Again, I just want to say to my inner circle, thank you so much for hitting that join button. It really does mean a lot to me to know that you're supporting me. Thanks again from the bottom of my heart. And to you who's watching my video right now, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking, commenting, sharing my video. It helps me. Every action helps me to do just a little more for this community, and it means everything to me. Again, thanks so much. As always, thank you so much for being a part of my day and a part of my life. And hey, thanks for letting me be a part of yours. It really does mean a lot to me. Make sure you take a look at the videos I'm leaving for you right there and right there. And while you're here, hit that subscribe button right over there so we can stay connected and continue on this healing journey together. I'll see you soon.